just like on the side, some kind of gambling, I would say. And then I moved into options trading in Germany. I started trading futures.
So I mean, when you say the .com, I mean you must have been fairly young.
I was fairly young, yeah, but it was an exciting time. I got some shares from my grandfather actually, and I got interested in the markets and started to do a little of trading. Obviously, it didn't work that well, but it started getting me into the business. Yeah.
So did you lose money in the beginning part?
Yeah, I think everyone did fairly well in the beginning, but once the market started collapsing, I lost what I made beforehand, and then I started trading some kind of options, and that didn't work out that well. But I still stayed with it, and yeah, continued to move towards other stuff. Yeah, okay. But there was just like, you know, alongside school, along university, so it's not full time, just like here and there and do some stuff. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, some of the best traders were interested in the markets at a young age. I mean, you know, you've people like such as Warren Buffett, and there's a whole collection of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just quite interesting that you also started early. So there's this biting desire that you always wanted to trade.
Yeah, well, it was fascinating. It started off investing, more like pick or get some information about a stock that would move or something like that, and then it came or went more in the direction of day-to-day basis and trying to, you know, trade the DAX, for example, and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. So it was always fascinating, and a lot was going on during .com, and everybody was talking about it. So it was exciting times, and it got me into it. Yeah.
Okay. And then at university, so what were you trading during university?
I would trade some options. They were like retail customer options, and yeah, I would kind of do a little bit of arbitrage, because at that time you could, you know, you had like the prices on OTC trading platforms, and then you would have the DAX future moving quicker than that platform. So I would try to kind of nick a few tick here and there, and yeah, there was some arbitrage opportunities in that.
Okay, so you like the arbitrage opportunity at the beginning of your career?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So I started here in August 2010, so pretty much 4 years ago, and I did grad course, but self-backed or self-funded, and yeah, did 4 months of training here.
So how I mean, you all the way from Germany, so how did...
Well, at that time I was kind of getting into futures, but it wouldn't go anywhere. So I traded futures, but didn't make much money. So I decided to move somewhere to find new stuff, and looked up in the internet, and I came here for an open evening. Had an interview with the training coach that was here at that time, and yeah, from then on I was excited. I saw the trading floor, the atmosphere, and I liked it, and I came here.
And was that the first time leaving Germany? I mean, to live somewhere else?
No, I stayed in New York before that for half a year, and in Mexico in like an exchange student environment. But working-wise, like on a full-time professional basis, that was the first time, yes.
Okay, and that was the start of... Who were your early influences, and what was your learning curve like given those influence or senior traders on the floor? I mean, how did you conduct yourself to help your learning curve?
Well, obviously, on the one side you had the coach, the training, so we got input from him, and he gave us like kind of exercises to do, but also, which is I think very important, like all the senior traders on the trading floor, whenever the market closed in the evening, they were still hanging around, and you had the time and the possibility to chat with them and to ask them anything. Or if there was a data coming out, I would go over to them and say, you know, guys, what you're looking at, which is the what would you hit, or what you go for, and then they would openly, you know, give a few tips and advice, and that was very helpful.
Okay, fantastic. And did you know, whilst asking those questions of the senior traders, does that really help in a trader's career develop quite quickly, do you think?
Well, it's probably not gonna, you know, it's definitely make it easier. It doesn't mean that you're gonna make it necessarily, but I think it helps a lot because they have been through it. They have been through the process. They've seen a lot of different market conditions, and they just, whenever you speak to them, they will even if they just talk freely, they give you a few more insights that you, especially in those early stages in your career, or if you have traded from home or not traded at all, that you have never really thought about. So you get these tiny little bits of information that help you to improve and increase the speed of your learning curve that you wouldn't necessarily have if you traded from home by yourself. So I think that's extremely helpful.
Really stood out for you?
I think it's first of all that the possibility to exercise and to practice different styles on a simulated but still live atmosphere. So you would be sitting on a trading floor, you have all the real-time information, and you can try whatever you want on a simulated basis. So you have that almost, or actually probably real experience without the money or monetary exposure that you have. So that's really helpful. If you don't really know where you want to go or what style suits you, you have the possibility to practice that, and coaching and they give you different exercises, or they tell you, look at this or look at this. So you can experience the whole trading
like the spectrum.
Spectrum, exactly. Yeah. So that's really helpful to just find your way or your style.
Yeah, and I suppose with any sustainable type of community to develop going forward, it's the ability for other people to really leverage of other people's experiences.
Yes,
to
definitely.
help in the
Yeah.
development process.
Yeah, because you have traders that look at entirely different things, and so if you ask each of them, they will give you insights in various different sectors or parts of the trading, and that's really helpful. So you can try to find, is it more that I like news trading or long-term or short-term trading, and you have one guy on the trading floor that is really good at that. So you have that exposure to different styles, and it helps.
So on this of your career, then what type of different styles did you see from the senior traders? What collection you had? What type of traders?
Really, I mean, everybody did a little bit of everything, but there were just a few guys that stood for that, and a few guys that stood that. So you would know he looks more at news trading, for example, or
How do you describe the news trading? How do you describe that?
Depending on market conditions, he would probably be glued to Bloomberg or Reuters, just waiting, or he would, going into a trading day, he would know which news the market would look at or is probably looking at. So he will wait for that, and during the time where it's likely that it might come out, he would be sitting at his desk glued to Reuters or Bloomberg or listening to the squawk and just wait for that opportunity.
Okay, so and that's where I can imagine direct access to market is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you trade that from? You couldn't trade that type of style from.
No, just an example like the squawk system. I've never seen or never heard about it beforehand. So as a retail trader sitting at home, you always think, why is the market moving? And then 5 minutes later or a couple of minutes later, you read it in a news board or something like that. You read that there is news coming out, but here you got it instantly, real time, in that second, and I've never seen that before. And
so how would you describe a squawk, just for those viewers out there, what is a squawk system?
It's like a news reader, so they will be looking at different news agencies or systems like Bloomberg, Reuters, and whenever a headline comes out, they will instantaneously talk through their system, and you will hear that news in that moment.
So Sven, so at what stage of your career did you realize that you would make a long-term career out of trading?
It's obviously hard to say. I mean, it's a process. I didn't have that moment when I realized overnight, okay, this is gonna be it. It's just that once you getting better at what, or you find your style, your P&L, or your trading improves, and you see that it's possible to make a career out of it. That for me personally, from others might be different, but for me it took like, it was a process getting to a stage where I said, okay, this is comfortable now, and I believe I can make it. I always had that core belief that I would make it, but not necessarily how I would make it. And then over time, I found myself seeing it, okay, this could be it, and I tried to work on that so that I would actually make it.
Okay. So then, do you remember your first live trading day?
Yeah, I remember being very excited, anxious about it. I actually have no idea what I did or how I traded. I know it was a small down day, but
so you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. But it was just like, you know, getting from that simulated trial and error, safe environment into the free market. I would say, like, it was exciting, obviously, and I was anxious, and I didn't do very well, but I didn't do my as I agree. Yeah, sorry about that. So it was okay. It was exciting step, and then yeah, I was live, so that was the most important thing for me.
So then my next question is, did you make money on your second day?
No. I think the first week I had like maybe one up day. So, but my down days weren't that big. It's just like probably, you know, I was more afraid sometimes to hit the button, so I would be waiting and waiting and waiting for that right moment to do a trade. Not the best.
How different is that now?
Ah, well, now it's entirely different. But again, I mean, today I would just, whenever I see an opportunity, I don't really hesitate, depending on how your emotional state is. But usually I don't wait for it. I just go for it. But obviously, in the beginning stage, and if you were just working on your style and working on your process, it's a bit different. But it's a learning curve, and you have to go through that process, going from a simulator process into the live market, practice what you have learned during that simulated process in a real environment.
So then, what did you do? So you had possibly one up day that first week. So I know it's a long time ago now, but do you remember what type of emotional or psychological challenges you had to overcome?
I was probably not a good person to be around at that time. No, I mean, I struggled with that. I was like doing quite well on the sim, and then suddenly in the live market it was entirely different story. So I had to cope with that, and I mean, for me it was basically the first 6-7 months that I had to cope with that, because I was still not making money. I was covering, not really, but I was close to covering costs, but I still was downward movement in my account. So it was in the beginning tough for me to cope with that, but the good thing about it was on the trading floor, I saw people making money. So I was like always, okay, if they can make money, eventually I'm gonna make money. That was my belief during that time. I think that helped me through that period.
You feel that was a strong motivational force?
Absolutely, yeah. You see people around you, they would make good money, and I was always like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. That was my belief.
Do you feel that would have been a bit different then, if everyone around you wasn't making money?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need that kind of motivation. You need that inspiration of other guys, being through the same process, having the same infrastructure in front of you. It's not like, you know, the senior guys have that magic toolbox or the magic program that only they get after 5 years being. It's everybody has the same stuff and being through the same process. So I always said, if they can make money, why not I?
So Sven, any early experiences in the market stand out for you, and what did you learn from that experience?
Again, it's not like to be honest, I don't have that specific one day type of situation. It was a busy time. I mean, it was end 2010, beginning of 2011, a lot of news, a lot of stuff coming out. Maybe actually it was a day before I went live. There was a quiet day, but there were some movements in the market, and everybody was focused on that, and that was really fascinating for me, how the whole trading floor from a relaxed atmosphere came into focused, looking at that very concentrated state, and everybody was looking at the same stuff, and that's also kind of a positive side of a trading floor, that you just by looking at the others and they starting to get focused on something, you will also get focused, even if you don't know what's going on. But then, or somebody will say, "Look at this," or "Do you see that?" And so that was for me also kind of, it was an exciting day because I was not trading much, getting prepared for my first live day, and I just watched the whole trading floor. That was really fascinating for me.
Because you could have that awareness, because now you knew you're going live.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that really cultivated something in your mind.
Yeah. So that was something that stands out for me.
I'm going to start talking about your trading approach and style. So what markets do you typically trade, Sven?
Well, I focus on basically the main Eurex markets like Eurostoxx, DAX Future and the Bund. Also I do some S&P and Nasdaq. That's basically my 5 core markets, I would say. I look at the other main markets like Euro, oil, gold, just for information, bits and pieces, but mainly these 5 I mentioned are my core markets.
Okay, and does your market selection change over time, and what constitutes this change?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you always kind of go with the market where the action is. It's I think also a process that you learn on a trading floor. Different times, different markets are more interesting. Could be just like one month the equities are more interesting, next month there will be the bond part. So yeah, you go along with the market, trying to find where the most action is.
And is that very, because some people just focus on one market, and is that, for how you trade, is a very important aspect for? Well,
yeah, it's personal. I mean, I've seen a lot of really big traders just focusing on 1 or 2 markets. That's also something that that people do, but still they would look at other things. I think if you move along your career, you will always get a little bit more information or other information that changes a little bit. So you look, maybe you're not traded, but you look at it. So during the European, like the Euro crisis, people would suddenly look at the the Italian bonds, for example. No one had looked at it before, and suddenly it was really important. That's the kind of information flow that you will learn, and you will, you see the traders do.
What was that European? I mean, you remember trading during the European crisis. Were you trading different markets, and that type of volatility, did that suit your type of style of trading?
I mean, I think for our day-to-day basis trading, volatility is always good, because the more volatility there is, the more opportunities you have, naturally. So I really liked it, obviously, that there was a lot of news, a lot of information flow, markets moving around a lot, but also that kind of, you had to adapt very quickly to different pieces of information and market conditions. So, the one day they would look at that Italian bond, but the next day would be, no one cared about it anymore. So you had to be very quick and reacting to what the markets are looking at that time.
How many markets would you trade in a typical day?
It varies. Sometimes I will be focused on one single market. Sometimes I would just, jump between my core markets, looking for opportunities in these different markets. Also, obviously, time of day is important. When Eurex or like when we go into the afternoon, America becomes more important. So I would be probably looking more at S&P or Nasdaq. In the morning I won't even look at them, because they're just not important at that stage of the day.
And describe your trading style, and how would you describe your edge?
I'm looking at very short-term order book patterns, so I'll be scalping in that order book.
Sorry, just describe quickly for the viewers who don't understand out there, what is an order book?
Basically, the order book shows you the best bids and offers of that market, real-time, live on your screen. So you will be having real-time information where where participants want to buy or sell that kind of product that you're trading or that you're looking at. So I'd be looking at my core markets and other markets, seeing all that bids and offers in real time. And during that process, I'd be looking at tiny or like patterns within that order book, within that market, and trying to find an opportunity to extract some ticks off that.
And as you said, you're looking for these price discrepancies or particular type of order flow patterns.
Yeah, order flow patterns probably the best thing.
And that goes back to, you know, your start of your career, where you look for particular types of pattern discrepancies.
I always kind of looked for patterns, but in the beginning I looked more at, I would say, technical based trading, like looking at charts, looking at these kind of information, and then more and more I moved towards this order book trading, looking not entirely but primarily on that information flow that you see from that order flow.
So how long did it take you to develop this skill set, and what was required to develop this skill set?
It still takes me, like it's an ongoing process, but I would say until I managed to be profitable, I would say almost a year, just a little bit less than a year, just understanding it, seeing it, and continuously doing it over and over again. And
so you say it took you a year. Now that year, how many hours would you be devoting yourself? How many times a week? What was the devotion to get to the level where you then say you started becoming profitable? What was the type of dedication that was required during that year?
I wouldn't say it's 24/7, but I would probably during the week I would be here from before Eurex Open until late.
What time?
That's in the UK. It's 7 o'clock, so I'd be slightly ahead of that, 6:30, I would say, just to prepare yourself for that open until after they close into the evening in the US, because there were opportunities in the evening, so I'd be probably here until 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, also doing some research, and as I said before, talking to others. Sometimes we were just sitting there, maybe not even talking about trading, but again, that kind of atmosphere, a lot of guys staying around, just, you would see you would get tiny bits of information, you would talk about markets, different styles, and even sometimes, especially during the Euro crisis, you would get some after hours downgrades, for example, that were really typical for an after hours, and everybody would be jumping to it or even expecting it. So yeah, in that, especially in the beginning, I think screen time or trading floor exposure is vital to your learning curve.
Yeah, so you devoted a lot of screen time.
Yes.
And that's there was no shortcut to develop your skills.
I don't think there is. With probably every job or even sports, you hear these people not putting in these hours, and I think it's vital to do that, just because you need that continuous training, continuous information flow. You need that to develop your style, but also to practice what you're good at, and after hours go over that. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? And all these kind of things. You're not gonna be able to do that coming here at 9 o'clock, going at 5 o'clock, and the rest of the day just not thinking about trading. I think you have to really devote yourself to trading.
Be immersed in the whole process.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, like. Yeah, you just want. Also, it's basically what you want to do, because it's exciting stuff is going on. So you always want to know what's going on. You always want to be in the real-time information flow, and keeping up with what's happening around the trading or the markets.
So, what are your thoughts on trader development, and what determines a trader's trading style? Is it a mix of being directed by experienced trainers coupled with a development of one's own style?
I think, I think it's both. Yeah, I think it really helps if experienced traders or coaches will give you examples or push you towards a direction or a style. But in the end, everybody will trade differently. Even if the trader next to you looks at the same market and even trades the same opportunities, he will do it slightly different. So I think it's very important to be open, to accept the information flow or the exercises or the whatever they teach you, but also to be looking very closely at your own personality, what suits you. If you're more like a short-term trader, for example, or long-term, that would be like classic basic example, and you have to find something that suits your character, suits your personality. Otherwise you won't really understand or fully evolve into that direction if your character doesn't it's not going to happen. I've seen it sometimes that people try to do something because they thought, oh, this guy is doing it, so I want to do it, and they were just not made for it, I would say. So they would fail doing that and had to re-go that process, trying to find what suits what suited their personality.
So you feel the traders who are perhaps always looking at other successful traders, trying to maybe emulate them too much instead of trying to develop their own true to their style, got left behind? Yeah,
it's definitely, I think, a mistake to. You have to do it in a balanced way, because it's so important to talk to them and to get their influence, but only as a kind of starting point for your own development. Just covering or just copying someone, it's not gonna work in this industry.
So now, how do you trade and approach big events? Or is that part of your trading style or trading edge?
I would say I try to take every day as it is, but obviously there are certain days that stand out. For example, just basic example, ECB or FOMC meetings that will affect the behavior of the markets, because beforehand and during, the markets will obviously react or prepare for that event. So I will know when the events are, and I would try to prepare myself for the market conditions that are likely to happen, so that I'm not surprised, and that for example, I would adapt my position size accordingly. If it's if the markets are getting thinner or liquidity dries up, it would be very dangerous to trade normal size. But these kind of things, I try to prepare for that. Otherwise, on the other hand, I would try to not overdo it, not to get too excited, because even myself tend to be more excited on these days, and then you risk doing too much, doing stuff that you would normally not do. So
would you be, in the past, did you used to get, because these big events get marketed by the media, the trading floor, you feel a different type of energy?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And so that will sometimes just start spurting up this risk profile of individuals that might not be within their remit of trading opportunities. So did you have those feelings before? And if you did, how have you changed to have the type of emotional so-called control in order to best profit from whatever opportunity arises?
I think it gets both out. It gets the excitement out, but also too much risk. Sometimes the excitement will open up opportunities, sometimes it will create negative experiences. So I got through all of them, being too aggressive or being too cautious, and over time I try to, as I said before, just prepare myself beforehand, so that I know, first of all, what's the market looking at? Is the market looking at a rate cut, or is it just looking for words? So I would try to understand where the market is, and then especially prepare myself for the different market conditions that the market's likely gonna be in, so that I'm not surprised. Sometimes people think like, oh, why is the market so thin? Well, it's ECB. It's simple, but if you do a little bit of preparation beforehand, and you talk obviously to the other ones, you start getting prepared for that and try to avoid the mistakes or the things that I talked about earlier.
So preparation is important.
Yeah.
So you're not getting surprised.
Definitely, yeah.
So what percentage of your trading is based on fundamentals?
I would say, personally, I don't do too much, but it depends what fundamental, what you define as fundamentals, because I like to trade ad hoc real-time news that comes out during the day, because I think there is a good edge for that, because the algos can't really be programmed to that, in my belief. I don't like to trade the overall fundamental views, I would say. Like, is this market too cheap or too expensive? I don't really get into that much. I don't really get into trends or shifts in sentiment. I'm more like the ad hoc, real-time, fundamental, game changers maybe.
So talking about in and out. So what's the average holding time of your trades?
It's usually seconds or minutes, I would say, because I'm very active in the order book, and I just don't like to expose myself to, for example, news or any big participant taking the market to a different level. So I would be trying, if I see my pattern or my order book pattern, I would try to execute that and get in and out very quickly on that basis.
So most people don't understand that whole concept of being in the markets in and out for seconds, but does that really also describe your character? You talked about earlier on about understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And are you, by that nature, are you therefore quite actually risk averse by that nature? Or, how would you describe your risk taking?
It helped me achieving two things. First of all, I feel like I can manage my risk much more tightly, because in that time frame, I can feel that the market is moving within a certain parameter, I would say, and I can control that a little bit better. So that is really helpful for me. And secondly, what I think is important for me personally is that quick response from the market. Is my trade idea right or wrong? Was it a good idea or a bad idea? So I like to get that quick result, I would say, and not wait for minutes or hours. Is this a good trade or not? So get that quick response from the market.
So just having that immediate justification of your trade.
Yeah.
So from that, Bats, what are your ideal market conditions for your trading style?
Again, as I said before, volatile is always good, because you get more opportunities, more stuff is happening. But for me personally, I kind of prefer the range-bound but still volatile days. Not like the trending one direction type of days, but the range-bound, still volatile within that range, where it's moving back and forth between, let's say, two levels or two levels. So that's my personal preferred type of day, type of structure of the market.